Hi, welcome to the Lyrical Language Lab. I'm Renee Latuli.
And I'm Laura Purdy-Salas.
And whether you've already signed up for the fully guided course or you're still toying with the idea, this video will give you an overview of how it all works. So to give you a little bit of background, Laura and I will tell you a little bit about where we're coming from. I personally have been writing poetry since elementary school. I majored in it as an undergrad, and then I developed a special affinity for the technical aspects of it, of creative writing in general and poetry specifically. My little bit of nerdiness, I guess, came through. I've always been a really great admirer of the craft of writing, and I really enjoy seeing how writers put together their stories on a sentence level, not just the big picture, but the little details that they add to make their writing beautiful. At the moment, I write poetry collections, picture books, and leveled readers. And now I'll hand it over to Laura.
And I have not been writing poetry since childhood. I did not discover that I wanted to be a writer till I was in college. And I have written a lot of picture books. Picture books are my very favorite thing. And I especially love poetry and nonfiction. I've written poetry collections as well as rhyming nonfiction, and soon some regular prose picture books. I have done traditional publishing. That's what most of my books now are, but I've done a lot of work for higher writing as well. And I've taught through the Institute of Children's Literature and at SCBWI workshops and The Loft, which is a Minneapolis writing institution, as well as online classes. And I love to teach.
Me too. That's true. I didn't even mention that. And that actually brings me to this next point. Is one of the biggest questions I get is, who is this course for? Who takes the Lyrical Language Lab? The general idea, I think, is that it's a poetry course, which it's not, actually. I designed the course in 2014 with prose writers in mind, but the course is actually so versatile, it serves all types of writers. In a nutshell, these are the people I really think it serves the best. Is first, prose writers who are looking to write more lyrically and enrich their writing with poetic techniques. Then we have rhyming picture book writers who would like a stronger foundation in the mechanics of poetry, meter and how all those things fit together to make a really smooth rhyming picture book. Any writer who would like to learn more about writing poetry for children. Both Laura and I are children's poets, so there's that aspect of it. And of course, anyone who has a work in progress in need of a revision. I've found that the class is really great for revising, and I've had quite a few students who already have a work that they simply want to figure out how to make more musical. And so they take the class and they work on their work in progress during that time. So I've had nonfiction prose picture book writers, I've had prose and rhyming picture book writers, children's poets, MG and YA novelists, from beginners to advanced have taken this class.
I have to interject here.
Yes, go ahead.
Before I agreed to come on board and co-teach, I had heard wonderful things about the Lyrical Language Lab, and I skimmed a few of the lessons and read one or two in depth. But it wasn't until this past week that I printed out the entire course and read through it from start to finish, and I was just wowed by how much information is in here. And I wish I had taken your class when I first started writing for kids. Because it's amazing. So the material in here, I'm just so excited to teach, because I agree there is stuff for every single writer in this course. So
yeah,
yay.
I really tried to make it inclusive and really comprehensive. So someone who's never written a poem, a rhyming poem, let's put it that way, in their lives can learn about meter and start, learning how to, from the ground up, how to do that. The course consists of 19 lessons, and they cover rhyme, meter, poetic technique, voice, all sorts of writing, prose, obviously, and assignments. Every lesson has an assignment that helps you apply the new concept. It goes concept by concept. So we start with stressed and unstressed syllables, and then we build on that. So each lesson builds on the one before. And then Laura and I are with you every step of the way. We give feedback on the assignments and we answer questions, and there's a private class forum where you post your work and get to build a community with your fellow students. And that in a nutshell is how the course works and for whom it works. Now about the co-teaching, I've been teaching this class on my own since 2014, as I mentioned, and working from writers from around the world, from beginning to advance. And now I've asked Laura to come on board and co-teach to bring students even more value. We both believe, as Laura touched on here, that learning poetic techniques will enhance and improve any kind of writing. So we're really excited to bring our shared knowledge to you, to the students.
And I think something that I'm really excited about is being able to give two different points of view on students' work. You know, we're going to trade off. So one lesson, you'll get feedback from Renee, and another lesson, the next lesson, you'll get feedback from me. And I think that is just so valuable because writing, of course, is a craft, and you will learn a lot about the craft through this course, but it's also an art form and it's subjective. So getting feedback from different people, so both instructors plus the other students, I just think that's invaluable. It is really great to hear how different people respond to your writing and learn that not everybody agrees. And what you're looking for are those techniques that will help you make your writing kind of the most bulletproof, as wonderful as it can be, that is going to resonate with and work for as many readers as possible. So in addition, getting that first reading from different people, I think is also really valuable. But the varied feedback is just awesome. I'm super excited about that.
Yes, and this is the first time in all these years that we're doing video feedback. So this is brand new, something I've been wanting to try for a long time. And what's most exciting about that, I think, is that you will hear a first live reading, cold reading of your work. So you post, let's say you post a quatrain in iambic tetrameter or something, and we don't look at it before we start our feedback. We look at it for the first time when we're doing your feedback video, and we read it. So it's great because if there's something that's not quite right there, you're going to hear us slip up. Or if it's smooth as butter, you're going to hear us just slide right through it. So it's really valuable to hear your work read out loud. Obviously, we're writing for kids here, so it's all meant to be read aloud. And that's one of the most important things. And the musicality is incredibly important. So you'll be able to hear that, especially going on through the course, not just with meter, but even in prose, bringing musicality to prose. You'll be able to hear when something is a little clunky or when it's starting to really have a flow to it.
I agree. And another thing that is awesome is that we will be able to give you more information, more feedback in the same amount of time that we would have done written feedback in. One thing I've always found when critiquing, especially anything that's metered, is that it takes so long to explain in writing why something doesn't work. And it's just so much easier to say it out loud in person. So I think that you're going to get an amazing amount of feedback in just a short period of time by us giving it to you on video. However,
I'm sorry. Let me just
go ahead.
Just to make it clear that these video, the video feedback includes feedback for all the students. It's not just you personally. So you benefit from the feedback on everybody else's work. This is one of the major points about this class. I encourage, that level of participation for everybody because, one of the main things people say is, I learned so much from reading critiques of other people's work. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Something though that's a little bit, well, maybe it will be a comfort to you because a lot of writers find sharing their work with people they don't know yet, a little bit intimidating. But I will tell you that I'm a little bit intimidated by giving video feedback. We are committed to doing it because we think it's going to be really cool and give you the most information. But it's also scary. You know, it's intimidating for me. One moment, I have dry mouth. So I'm constantly taking drinks and putting dry mouth drops in my mouth. And that can be a little awkward on video. It is, you know, you can have tech problems. There might be a little bit of dead air while Renee or I thinks about what we want to say about your work. So it's a little scary for us too, just like sharing your work might be a little scary. But the important thing is, what we're doing is what we think is the best thing so that you learn the most. And we are really committed to creating a community that is kind, that understands that we're all doing the best we can, and we're here to help each other learn. We're not here to already be perfect at something. So we'll be honest with our feedback, but kind. And you know, you shouldn't be worried about, oh, other people are going to hear that something of mine didn't work. Well, of course it doesn't work. Why else do you go get, you know, critiqued? My critique group tells me all the time what doesn't work with my writing, and I love it because it helps me make it better. So video feedback is going to be awesome. It's going to be different, and we're just going to cross our fingers and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
Good.
Right,
Well,
those strange little. For sure there's going to be techie things like that fly that keeps coming around here. You see me going like this, it's not about you. But anyway, so we've talked a bunch about, you know, what we're doing in the class. So I just wanted to chat a minute about what we're expecting from the students themselves. And that, of course, is their work. That's it. Every lesson, as I mentioned before, contains an assignment that you can, you know, in which you can apply the concept that you just learned. You can apply them to your works in progress. You can apply them to a new piece. You can apply them to prose. You can apply them to rhyme. Almost every assignment has a prose component, except, of course, the actual meter lessons. So, you know, there's prose. There's all sorts of opportunities to work on the concept. And one thing that is important is to keep up with the lessons. We know life can definitely get in the way. We're adults, which makes it even more difficult. You know, we're not, you know, kids held captive in a classroom. So it can get heavy. The class is designed so that there are about 2 or 3 lessons a week. That's it. But even with just 2 or 3 lessons, you know, sometimes there's a lot of information and it might take you a little bit longer to process that and to actually complete the assignment. But I do encourage you to try to keep up. If you start falling behind, you just let us know and we'll work with you and we'll work it out. But keeping up with the assignments is also important so that you're, you know, on a par with all of your fellow students, because you'll be giving each other feedback as well in the forum. It's a private forum where you'll be posting your work. So that's what you're going to bring to it, is your energy and your talent and your work. And we can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think giving feedback is crucial. When I have done critiquing for clients, I learn a lot from giving critiques. Mm-hmm. So as you critique your classmates' work, it's good for you because it forces you to gather your thoughts and to analyze why something works or doesn't work for you. It also shows you, you know, there's a continuum, especially when you're talking metered verse, I think. There's this continuum of what people find acceptable to what people find unacceptable, as far as how perfect you follow the meter, how perfectly you follow it, how perfect your rhyme is, etc. And it's really useful to learn as you go along where you fall along that continuum. It helps you recognize your own weaknesses and your own strengths, and you can apply some of that feedback that you hear on other people and feedback you give other people you are also giving that feedback to yourself. You know, you're reminding yourself of what works and what doesn't. And of course, it's important not only because it helps you, but because it helps your classmates. Sometimes students don't feel qualified to give feedback. You know, they say, oh, I'm no expert, and they're hesitant. But our audience, when we write for kids or for teenagers, we also write for the teachers or parents or librarians who are reading to those kids. Those people are not necessarily expert readers either. But their reactions matter, their emotions matter, their opinions about what works and what doesn't work, those all matter, and so do your opinions. So you don't have to be an expert to give really valid, helpful feedback to your classmates. And that's what we are expecting from everybody, because that's what makes it work. And just one thing is, I would, if possible, when life doesn't intervene, I think it's most helpful if you give your feedback before Renee or I does our video feedback, or at least don't watch our feedback first, so that you don't feel like you have to agree with us. Everybody's opinion helps the author of whatever those words were know, okay, out of 12 people, you know, it worked for 10 people, but a couple people had issues or whatever. So honest feedback is what we're looking for, not necessarily agreement with either of us.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. Especially the one about being the an expert. You know, we're all readers. You might not know the technical words for what doesn't work, but you know that something's off. And it's enough that you know that. You're a reader. We're all readers, you know. That's all you need to be in order to give feedback, if it works or not.
And as I was studying my Lyrical Language Lab printout this past week, oh my gosh, I mean, I was familiar with all the terms in it, but there's a lot that, you know, I do not throw around iambic tetrameter all the time and stuff. So I'm no expert in the terminology, and I was reminded of and learned some new things in here. So yeah, it's not about.
There are so many rhyming picture book writers, really accomplished rhyming picture book writers, who do not know what iambic tetrameter is. And that's great.
They do it by ear.
They do it by ear. They're naturals. And that's what it is. A lot of people who take this class discover that they're naturals, but they just didn't know it, you know? Like, well, I'm not seeing where the stress is. It's like, well, you did it perfectly. So clearly there's something in there already. You're just now applying some technical language to it so that you know, which is very helpful when you are giving critiques on rhyming picture books.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where the technical stuff comes in. Because I still get questions now from former students, you know, well, what about this? What about this? And they're so technical, I think you're overthinking it. You learn the terminology, and then you just let it lie. Just move on. Just let it wash over you a little bit. You don't have to really get in there. But I have this headless foot over here, and no, you'll just go crazy if you start doing that. And there are certainly terms like hypercatalectic that I don't throw around every day. I often have to go back and like, what was that? Oh yes, right. They're good to know, but you don't need to speak in that lingo all the time. Once it's in there, it just becomes natural.
Well, and I think it's great to have them to pull out when you run into trouble, because then you can analyze it and figure out how to fix it. Exactly. But yes, you don't have to speak in slang all the time.
So don't be afraid of the terminology in the course. It'll all work out in the end. So to start wrapping up a little bit, just wanted to remind that during the class, Laura and I give feedback on the specific homework assignment. But that doesn't mean that if you, and this often happens, students get very enthusiastic and start writing a lot more than the assignment, and you are more than welcome, students are more than welcome to also post other work in the forum for feedback from their fellow students. Like I said, Laura and I will do feedback on these specific assignments, but you can post whatever you like to get feedback from other people. Do you want to quickly run through how the feedback works, Laura?
Yeah, yep. So you will have your assignment and you're going to have a class calendar. And on that calendar, it will tell you that, you know, maybe you're getting your assignment on Tuesday, let's say, of a certain date, and perhaps that Friday will be the date that Renee and I are making our first pass through. And what that means is everybody who has posted their homework assignment by that Friday, each of us will be going through our individual groups, our subgroups, and we will do video feedback for those people and post the video or a link to the video. And that's great. Then a few days later, we will do a second pass. So if you don't have your homework posted by that first pass, don't panic. There will be a second pass and a second video a few days later. So it will be very clearly marked on the calendar. You'll know what to expect. And hopefully that will help you kind of stay on top of getting those assignments in and giving feedback and really getting the most bang for your buck from the course and learning the most that you possibly can.
Yeah, it's all about the course is all about the feedback. Without that, it's a self-study. So, you know, getting those assignments in is really important if you want to get, like Laura said, the full benefit of the course.
And you don't need to wait for our video for you to start giving each other feedback as well. So in fact, I wouldn't watch our video till after you give your feedback. So you can jump in as soon as someone posts their homework assignment. You can certainly, as a classmate, jump right in with your own feedback, and we hope you will.
All right, I think that we have covered all the points that we wanted to cover.
And more.
And more, yes. And so all that remains is to see you in class. And we are really looking forward to that and to reading your work. If you have any questions that we haven't answered in this video, please feel free to email me through my website, reneelatulip.com. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Hey, you still here? There's a little bonus for you too, I forgot to mention during the video. At the end of the course, everybody gets the 180 something page ebook of the entire course, all the assignments, all the audio files, yours to keep forever. So you'll always have that to fall back on and to remind yourself of all the concepts that you've learned. And that's it. Now we're really done.